What's up guys, Wolf here. Welcome to another Diablo 4 video. In today's video, I'm going to showcase my new and improved Sorcerer build. This is my best Sorcerer build right now. I wanted to update you guys from the previous video. I have made quite a few changes. So hopefully you do enjoy the video. If you do, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let's get straight into it. I think the Frost Mage is one of the strongest builds in the game. And I've kind of delved into many different aspects of playing Sorcerer. I've tried Pyro, I've tried Lightning, combining the two, combining different elements. And I feel like this is the best and the strongest version. Now, it's always up to you as a player. I always recommend trying different setups. I will be posting a Pyro build soon, but I've been struggling to make it work. I've got good pieces, I've tried it. I spent over 2 million coins respecing everything to try and make a Pyro build work. And I'm struggling a bit, so I only want to make sure I post really good setups for you guys. It might just be a fun video later on, but I want to try to get further along the line. I'm only level 72, therefore I'm only doing like between level 20 to 30 nightmare dungeons. This is always dependent on your level, guys, so I'm going to be showcasing like level 26 dungeons, things like that. But with this setup, I feel like, honestly, I've broken World Tier 4. It is so easy. I can go in there and kill 3 bosses in like 15 seconds. It's crazy, less than 15 seconds. And I've got infinite mana with the setup. It's a lot of fun to play, very effective. And when you start going above level 50 Nightmare Dungeons, Blizzard is so incredibly strong with the setup. I saw in my previous video, people not running Blizzard. Try it. It is so good for slowing enemies down, and you don't even have to be near them to kill enemies in World Tier 4 on a Nightmare Dungeon 50 plus. So let's go through a summarization of the build, then I will give you guys a full description, including the Paragon board, skill tree, and the gear items that I'm using. So with this build, it's similar to the last one, so it's quite simple to use. So I would teleport, attract all the enemies into one place, use a Frost Nova, proc a Blizzard to deal all that damage because they will be vulnerable. They will freeze. I will have all the damage to chilled enemies, which is great. And then I will actually proc my armor, my ice armor, in case I need it. And something to mention, do not use ice shards when you're up close. Use a frost bolt. This is because when you actually utilize the frost bolt up close to enemies, it's a lot easier to hit than ice shards. Yes, ice shards will do more damage, but with this, it actually explodes. And it's 100% chance to explode, therefore making all the enemies explode because of one of our enchantments. So I recommend using frost bolt from close, and then using ice shards from a little bit further away. It's a lot easier because you'll miss your target from like standing directly in front of them if you're on top of the enemies. Also, something to mention is if you teleport and you get stuck, just evade out of the way. That's how you can actually get out of the way. You can also change your evade into a teleport, but that's up to you if you've got the chest piece that I'm going to showcase, which is very good and definitely worth farming for. Something to mention, guys, also the devs have confirmed this. So when an enemy is frozen, they are still considered chilled. So you want to spec into damage to chilled enemies so that when you're actually trying to get them frozen, you get the damage. And when they're frozen, you get the damage. Like, for example, Frostbolt will actually initiate chilling enemies, which is really, really good. So I 100% recommend that. Then when you're a bit further away after doing all of that, it's up to you if you want to do it in that sequence, but that's how generally I play. Then I would proc blizzards from further away, move away, and then utilize my ice shards, which ricochets off of enemies. Mine is ranked 7 out of 5. Ice shards, incredibly strong. Once you actually stagger a boss, which is quite easy, just by teleporting, using blizzard, it's a matter of chilling and stunning that will actually, or any kind of CC that will like stack the yellow bar on a boss, and then once the bar goes blue, the boss kind of goes into a state where CC affects them, and then we can dish out all the damage to the enemy and just melt any boss in the game super quick. So this build is going to be great for that. So hopefully you guys have gotten a gist of the explanation. If you want to ask any questions, go in the comment section and fire away. I will try my best to answer all the questions, or as many questions as I possibly can. So the enchantments that I've chosen are going to be Fireball. So we need to use 1 skill point for Fireball. This is just great for waves of enemies to blow them all up. Frostbolt for, the chilling is really good. Direct damage from skills applies up to 21% chill, which is great. All the skills will be applying chill. It's just really, really nice. It gets them frozen quicker because once they're frozen or while we're chilling them, we do so much damage. You don't have to have this. There are many different options, guys. Just go for what suits your playstyle best. So let's take a look at the skill tree now. The skill tree is quite simple. I've gone for Flickering Frostbolt for more vulnerability. We get lots of mana regen, so I haven't gone for this. It's up to you guys. Don't worry. On the gear pieces, that's where we get most of our mana regeneration. Fireball for obviously the enchantment. Then Ice shards, it depends on you. I've got some of my gear pieces on my affixes, so I've gone for 7 out of 5, and I've also gone for the vulnerability, because damage to vulnerable enemies is very good. Vulnerable is its own modifier, it's its own multiplier. It's very, very good. Gone for 2 out of 3 elemental dominance for increased damage, because we will be casting most of the time above 50 mana. Then defensive, frost, ice armor is really good. Glass cannon, more damage the better. That's how I want to play. It's up to you. You don't have to go for that. Then I've got teleport. This is really good with the chest piece. I will showcase this to you guys shortly. And then we also get damage reduction, which really helps me. I like to survive after I've teleported, because we're going to be getting up in the enemy's business. So we want to make sure we can survive, especially when you get meleeed up close for some of the difficult enemies to fight. Then for the Frost Nova, this is great for making them vulnerable as well, and it freezes them instantly. This is just really, really strong, guys. I recommend going for this. I've gone for 3 out of 5. It's up to you. Then on this section, 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3 mana shield. It all speaks for itself. And then make sure you guys have your lucky hit chance up to 15. This is a really good thing to go into. Then Blizzard, I cannot recommend it enough. This is my favorite spell. It is so efficient, guys. When you're in trouble, this will save you. It does so much damage, especially considering we've got an aspect that helps it. It's just really, really good. And we also, when you cast above 50 mana, Blizzard's duration increased by 4 seconds. This is just really, really strong. You can use the enchantment. This can be good as well. And this will be chilling the enemies as well for you, which really, really helps with the setup. Then moving further down, make sure you have all of these, guys, all these frost items fully stacked up. Very strong. Then I have gone for the Avalanche passive. Now, this is not the best. This is just because I've got a nice piece that synergizes with it great. But Shatter is just as good, if not better, for damage. It depends on you. Choose whichever you think will suit your playstyle. Then the Paragon board. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. But just have a look, guys. I don't want to spend too much time explaining this. I'll just show you my nodes. I've gone for non-physical damage, more life, and I've also gone for a glyph socket that gives me damage to crowd-controlled enemies. So we deal 10 times a 10% increased damage to slowed or chilled enemies, or instead 20% increased damage to stunned or frozen enemies, which is really, really good. This will be happening a lot. We also have an additional bonus that has been achieved from the dexterity within the red margin. So this gives us increased damage to enemies. So this is just huge. Lots of damage. It's really, really nice. I've also gone for the elemental balance node, non-physical damage, and also resistance to all elements. Resistance to all elements is currently not very good in this game, so just keep that in mind. But I want to keep this like this. I like the way that it synergizes with everything else. Then I've gone up to this board right here. I have changed it since the last video. Icefall. This is really, really good. Killing a frozen enemy grants you 15% of your maximum life as a barrier, which helps me survive immensely. So I've gone up this track so that I can get damage chilled enemies and non-physical damage. Then I've moved here. I will try and get the dexterity once I can. Damage reduction from chilled enemies and cold resistance. But the damage reduction is great because all the enemies are pretty much going to be chilled. Then I've gone for this section here, damage to chilled enemies intelligence. Then I've just popped up, I might touch on this frigid node here as well to give myself another frostbite or a glyph right here, which has got frostbite, which is really, really good. I recommend this one. The damage to chilled enemies is absolutely incredible. As you guys can see, for all of the willpower, I get so much because I've leveled this up by doing Nightmare Dungeons, so I recommend it. I've also touched up on strength to give myself more armor. I think that's quite important. Then I kind of dipped out to the left, like I said, for more reduction, more survivability, because it can be quite tricky in the later stages of the game. Then I've moved on to this board here, and as you can see, I've got a long way to go. This build has got so much potential. I feel like it's going to absolutely shred. Frigid Fate, I want to keep going towards down and then up here to give myself more vulnerable damage. So as you guys can see, I'm proccing lots of vulnerable on the enemies. Therefore, I'm going to be kind of delving into those areas. Then to touch on the legendary node as well, which will increase my lucky hit chance, as I mentioned earlier, even further, which is very, very strong. Let's go through the gear items. So quite a lot's changed since my previous video, but a lot of the aspects are similar. Now, there are a few you do need and some you don't. I will let you know once we get to each piece. So this is definitely a must-have aspect. You can farm most of these from dungeons. So we have got extra armor. This armor is unbelievably strong. I've got a god roll. Make sure you guys give that aspect a try if you haven't. It's really good. I've put a topaz in for damage reduction while controlled impaired. This can be very important, especially in Nightmare Dungeons. Then this chest piece, you guys don't have to use it. It's a sacred unique. After using teleport, close enemies are pulled to you and stunned. You should be able to get this if you farm a lot. So try, guys. It's not a must-have, but it really does help gather all the enemies in one place. You can freeze all of them and blow them up with the fireball and with just with hitting them with your frostbolt or ice shards. It's very, very good. I've got rubies for maximum life. Then dealing damage while we're standing still. This you don't have to have. I've gone for this because I can stand still a lot with my barriers. I tank a lot of damage once I've frozen them, so I can stack extra damage. It's up to you. You don't have to have this. Then this as well. You don't have to have this either. Enemies that die while frozen have a 14% chance to unleash the Frost Nova. I just really like the synergy with this and everything else that I've got on the build. I actually would recommend one where you get extra life per enemy around you. That is also very strong, like I've shown in my previous videos, but that's up to you. Then these are so nice. I recommend trying your best to farm these. You chill enemies while you run around them. It's so good, guys. As you can see from the gameplay, an ideal 9% multiplicative more damage to chill enemies, which is just unbelievably strong. And I recommend trying to get these boots. They're perfect for this build. Then for my wand, this is also nice. I got very high DPS with this. This is a must-have. You need this aspect. Ice shards pierce 4 times, dealing 22% less damage per subsequent enemy hit. But the piercing is just so good with ice shards, especially considering they also bounce off of enemies when they're frozen. So make sure you use that aspect. Amulet. This is also a must-have. Extra damage to immobilize, stunned, or frozen enemies. Must-have, guys. Try and get this aspect. Also, this one, using a cooldown, restores 15 mana. This is insane. This allows me to get my mana back because everything will be on cooldown all the time. Therefore, this procs all the time. Very, very important. This isn't a must-have unless you want to use Blizzard. This gives us a lot of extra damage. I need to find a better one. As you can see, it's a low roll. The item power imprint wasn't very good. Ice spikes deal multiplicative damage to frozen enemies. This is so good. When you proc one Blizzard and kill a wave of tier 4s, which I can do, it really showcases how strong this build actually is. And I've got this right here, which is a focus. Now, the reason why I haven't gone for a two-handed staff or one staff here is because of the affixes I get here, like cooldown reduction, and also get lucky hit chance. Attacks per second is higher. But if you want just one smack huge damage, then go for the two-hander. It depends on your playstyle. One isn't better than the other. For this setup, I prefer having a focus and a wand. It's up to you guys. So looking at the jewels, I've got a topaz in here. This is damage reduction while controlled impaired. Rubies for extra maximum life. Then I have got in my weapons, critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies, because all the enemies are going to be vulnerable. Then extra armor with the skulls, once again here with the critical strike damage. So the affixes to go for, quite simple. Total armor, crowd control duration, damage to close and near close enemies or far enemies, damage to chilled enemies, stunned. Ranks of any of the spells that I've mentioned. Critical strike chance can be good. Attack speed is really powerful. Damage to frozen enemies, freeze duration, anything like that. Movement speed is going to be really nice. Also, something that is quite important, mana cost reduction. This is a percentage amount. So intelligence as well. Anything like that, vulnerable damage is really good. If you stack that, you will have no problem, but it's up to your level, guys. So don't think you can go into high dungeons or anything like that with a low level. Your level makes a huge difference. The more Paragon points you get, even one Paragon point can give you so much damage or survivability. It is insane. So hopefully you did enjoy this video. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.